Hello, hello, darlings. So glad you could pop in and join us. Welcome to Here Comes the News. I'm your host, Mika. My co-host of the Gender Swap podcast, Stevie, unfortunately wasn't able to make it out tonight. He mentioned something about spelunking dat ass. I don't know what that means. Not my business. Not my problem. Well, launching right into it tonight, we have a veritable cornucopia, a smorgasbord of headlines to get through. So, I'm just going to jump right into the obvious big first headline type thing. We're at war with Iran? We're bombing Iran? I mean, it was Venezuela like a couple weeks ago, and now it's Iran. And there's also talk of like possibly hitting Ecuador or Cuba next. So, you know, great living in the current timeline. But our first headline. This is from thelever.com. Missiles are depleted. Defense contractors are cashing in. As war spending surges again, America's largest weapons manufacturers are funneling more money to shareholders than into expanding production. Which, to put that a different way, we're paying them to like make the bombs and things like that, and they are paying out that much and more to the shareholders. Basically, the Trump administration has kind of let me rewind. They're trying to figure out how to spend $500 billion in extra Pentagon money. So why not have a war like you do? They requested extra money from Congress, or they plan to request it next year. 2 days later, the administration told Congress that in next year alone, it plans to burn through $153 billion additional dollars in military funding. That's the amount of money that Congress expected to spend on this over the next 5 years. Less than a week after the start of the strikes, executives representing weapons manufacturers, including RTX, formerly Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, are scheduled to meet with President Trump and discuss the diminishing munition stockpiles. While the president insists that the munition reserves have never been higher or better, defense industry funded consultants and lobbyists are warning that in less than a week, the U.S. has burned through its precision-guided long-range missile reserves. Just right through them. They argue that a shrinking industrial base and declining productivity could undermine U.S. military objectives in places like Ukraine and Israel. Of particular concern are the country's stockpile of precision missile interceptors, a quarter of which were reportedly depleted in just 12 days of fighting between Israel and Iran last summer and are on track to be further drained in the current Iran war. So, since the 1990s, the U.S. military spending has doubled. And where's the money going? To the shareholders. Because that's what war's about, darlings. Increasing shareholder value. Since the 90s, the number of prime contractors working with the Defense Department has shrunk from 51 to 5. And in recent years, they've spent about $110 billion on buybacks and dividends, which is more than double what they've been spending on weapons production. So, yeah. I think we get the idea from that headline as far as war is a racket. But it's not just a racket. It is a fucked up monstrosity of a racket. This is from MiddleEastEye.net. Exclusive. The Iranian girls who were killed by strikes on the Manab school, which currently, as far as we know, 165 people were killed at the girls' school. But apparently it was hit with 2 strikes, not 1. The first bomb hit the school. One of the teachers and the principals moved a group of students to the prayer hall to protect them. One of the Red Crescent medics said, citing conversations he'd had at the time with survivors. The principal called the parents and told them to come pick up their children. But then the second bomb hit that area as well. Only a small number of those who took shelter survived. Almost all of the 165 people killed in the attack were girls between the ages of 7 and 12. Double tap strikes, if you're not familiar with them, is an incredibly fucked up tactic where you at first hit with a smaller bomb. Then, when people rush out to try to help survivors dig people out of the rubble, you hit the same area with a much larger bomb to take out anyone who is trying to help as well. It is the strategy of monsters. Speaking of monsters, you may be wondering why the ever-loving fuck did the U.S. military bomb a girls' school? Well, it was located next to an ex-military base. A military base that had been decommissioned for the past decade. So why would the U.S. bomb it if it had been out of commission? Well, this is from the Washington Post. Anthropic's AI tool, Claude, central to U.S. campaign in Iran. Advanced AI technology was used to identify targets and quickly prioritizing them supporting the massive military operations carried out by U.S. and Israeli forces. Before I read this, as it is written, I need to remind everyone that the Washington Post is not the newspaper it used to be. Jeff Bezos bought it out, and it has more and more become another voice piece of the ultra wealthy. So, this article is kind of written like an ad. Like, the AI doing this is cool and good. A great thing. Amazing. The first paragraph. In order to strike a blistering 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours of its attack on Iran, the U.S. military leveraged the most advanced artificial intelligence it's ever used in warfare. A tool that could be difficult for the Pentagon to give up, even as it severs ties with the company that created it. The military's Maven Smart system, which is built by the data mining company Palantir, is generating insights from an astonishing amount of classified data from satellites, surveillance, and other intelligence, helping provide real-time targeting and target prioritization to military operations in Iran. According to 3 people familiar with the system. Embedded into the Maven system is Anthropic's AI tool, Claude, a technology that was banned by the Pentagon last week after heated negotiations over the terms of its use in war, which, if anyone was paying attention to the news last week or so, Anthropic started on, they want us to use Claude to kill people, and we're not comfortable, we don't want to do that. Me. Which is the fucking military. Like, what did you think they were going to do with it? Make spreadsheets? Come up with a shopping list? Help them work on their, I don't know, vampire fairy romantasy novel? Of course they're going to use it to kill people. But anyway, Claude, the ones who are painting themselves as, we're so blah about all this. Anthropic, the company that owns Claude, they knew about this. And odds are good, they knew who was targeted. And also, odds are good that Claude is the reason 165 people are dead at the girls' school in Iran. Moving on. You may be wondering what exactly the big wet boy in the White House has to say about all this. What is dear President Trump? What's his take on this? How does he feel about this war going on? This war, which, by the way, Congress didn't authorize. And then they are entirely within their power to stop. But they're just not. Well, President Trump says, according to People.com, I guess Americans should worry about Iran retaliating on U.S. soil. This is a direct quote from him. Like I said, some people will die. Great. For the latest Times story, titled Trump's War, which was published on Thursday, March 5th, correspondent Eric Cortellessa questioned Trump about the details of the unfolding war with Iran. In a pointed moment, he was asked whether it's reasonable for Americans to have concerns about being attacked at home. I guess, Trump, 79 years old, responded. They put his age, by the way. I just want to point that out. That wasn't me adding something in. They put that in there. Goodness. Trump continued, but I think they're worried about all the time. We think about it all the time. We plan for it. But yeah, we expect some things. Like I said, people will die, the president added. When you go to war, some people will die. It's wild how fucking blasé, honestly, he is about it. Completely removed from the horrors that he is unleashing for reasons, unestablished reasons. They said something about, they're going to get nukes, and then Israel was like, they're going to get nukes, and then we find out they were nowhere near getting nukes, and then we found out that, according to Pete Hegseth, we were doing the strike to prevent them from developing to get nukes, so we were preemptively striking their development capabilities, even though they weren't actually near having nukes, and then yeah, it's all just, it's a mess. Speaking of a mess, this is from popular.info. The meritocracy exposed. Internal emails reveal how the Trump administration hires legal interns. And then the little subquote beneath the headline. You must be aligned politically with President Trump. GPA is not a strong factor. Which, I'm not disparaging the work of Judd Legume, who wrote this article, but we all kind of suspected that in the Trump administration, they weren't really looking at their school grades, if you will. On Friday afternoon, Liberty University Law School emailed its first and second year students about an exciting opportunity to intern with the Department of Labor in D.C. The available positions covered the full breadth of the DOL's activities: litigation, appeals, regulations, policy, etc. The email, sent by Derek Green, an associate director at the law school, stressed that those accepted into the program will make incredible connections that will pay off later. For second-year students, the internship could lead to a full-time job offer after your 2027 graduation. One important caveat: only passionate devotees of President Trump would be considered. Students who aligned politically with President Trump and were willing to work hard were strongly encouraged to apply, even if they had poor grades. The two most important requirements, this is directly from the email, are you must, which is in bold and red text and underlined and highlighted. You must be aligned politically with President Trump and his administration, and you must be willing to work hard. Don't be scared off by the transcript requirement. GPA is not a strong factor. If you meet those two requirements, you have a shot. Only hiring the best of the best, I guess. Moving on. This is a headline from Texas Monthly. The Texas GOP is no longer drifting rightward. It's speeding that way. Candidates once too right-wing to win have found that the new Republican Party has a place for them. There was a time when Don Huffings, never heard of the guy, but apparently he's big in Texas. Would have been a footnote in Texas political history. In 2021, the former state senator and Dallas multimillionaire burned through a crap ton of cash from far-right oil tycoon Tim Dunn as part of a long-shot primary challenge to Governor Greg Abbott. But Huffings didn't consider his loss a loss. He considered it a victory. In his hardline campaign, he was able to pull Abbott and the rest of the GOP further to the right on immigration, COVID-19 orders, and a hodgepodge of other red meat social issues, like trans people. On Tuesday, a few short years later, Huffings cruised to victory in the Republican primary for Texas comptroller, trouncing two well-funded challengers, including Governor Abbott's hand-picked guy for the job. En route to his win, he overcame a late-breaking scandal over his family's secret 2023 purchase of, not making this up, Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico ranch. He beat that scandal, and he fucking won the primary. But in there's so many guys, okay, in this article. I'm going to try, I don't want to read all of them. I do want to mention that Dan Crenshaw got beaten out by Steve Toth, who is a pastor and a Texas House member. Toth, by the way, wants to let kids sue drag queens for performing around them. Because, sure, why the fuck not? He also co-sponsored a bill, the one about the litter boxes in classrooms. That was him. That was Toth. And the Republican Party of Texas is like, yeah, sure, come the fuck on in. In the 23rd Congressional District, Congressman Tony Gonzalez is advancing in a runoff against Brandon the AK guy Herrera, who is a pro-gun YouTube personality who was once active in a Sons of Confederate Veterans group. And somehow it's neck and neck. And they've got to have a runoff. In the race for Texas Attorney General, Congressman Chip Roy is in a runoff against MAGA Mays Middleton, a state senator who claims that church-state separation is not real doctrine and is leading the legislative charge to get more Christianity into public schools. The race has become a front in the Texas GOP's revived war against Islam, with Roy and Middleton trying to outflank each other as they claim there's a takeover of Texas by Muslims who, look, Muslims make up 2% of the population in Texas. For perspective, trans people make up 1%. So there's like twice as many Muslims as there are trans people in Texas, but that ain't saying a lot. Middleton has vowed to stop the Islamification of Texas, which he says is a Christian state. Meanwhile, Roy, who is considered a traitor because every now and then he's critical of President Trump. But anyway, he is calling Islam cultural rot. And this is the kind of stuff that they're swinging towards. Like, the problem with not having a proper oppositional party and having a party like the Democratic Party that tends to enable, help the GOP move further and further to the right because they want to pick up some voters from the GOP while alienating their base, is the right-wing party just goes further to the right. And then they do crazy shit. Gizmodo.com. RFK Jr. has told Joe Rogan he's about to unleash, quote, unleash 14 banned peptides. And I'm sure you're wondering, what the fuck is a peptide? Well, unapproved drugs, of course. RFK Jr. announced that he intends to reverse a previous decision from the Biden-era Food and Drug Administration that restricted nearly 24 peptides from being produced by compounding pharmacies. The FDA is going to take about 14 of those peptides off the banned list, with a formal decision expected sometime in the next few weeks. RFK Jr. said, "My hope is that they're going to get moved to a place where people have access from ethical suppliers," he told Rogan, while also admitting that evidence supporting their use kind of doesn't exist. like chemically. Peptides are any compounds with 2 or more amino acids chained together by peptide bonds. Practically, peptides are considered simple compounds with 50 or fewer amino acids. Proteins, meanwhile, are usually large and complex compounds with multiple peptide chains. The human body produces thousands of peptides, some of which scientists have adopted for medical treatments. In recent years, however, there's been a bit of a gray market forming around peptides that are still early in development or haven't been approved yet in countries like the US. But wellness influencers, celebrities, and supporters of the Make America Healthy Again movement have touted peptides as treatments for anti-aging, better brain health, weight loss, get your dick hard, fucking you name it. The peptides will cure all. Which is so fucking stupid. But anyway, what isn't these days? Everything's stupid. Everything's bullshit. Everything is an additional headline of horrors, a cavalcade of atrocity. Speaking of, this is from the MiamiHerald.com. A Miami campus Republicans group chat is being described as Nazi heaven. The secretary of Miami-Dade County's Republican Party started a group chat primarily for conservative students last fall. And apparently, within 3 weeks, it was filled with racist slurs. Someone wrote dozens of ways of violently killing black people. And the chat was renamed after what one member described as Nazi heaven. In WhatsApp conversations leaked to Miami Herald, participants used variations of the N-word more than 400 times, described women as whores, used slurs to talk about Jewish and gay people, and mused about Hitler's politics. Interspersed throughout were discussions about events promoting the Republican Party at Florida International University. The school told the Herald the chat logs are part of an ongoing criminal investigation. The conversations included some of the campus's top conservative leaders, the county GOP secretary, FIU's Turning Point USA chapter president, and the former College Republicans recruitment chair. Another member of the chat, William Bejarano, who tried to start a pro-life group at Miami-Dade College, was apparently the primary user of the N-word in the group. At one point, he posted a block of text calling for dozens of acts of extreme violence against black people, who, again, he referred to using the N-word, including crucifying, beheading, and dissecting. Bejarano hung up the phone when reached out to by the Miami Herald. Dario Gonzalez, the College Republicans recruitment chairman at the time, responded in the chat, "How edgy." I'm going to read something that Gonzalez put in the chat. This is a direct quote. Trigger warning. The language is a bit racist as fuck. Ew, you had colored professors? Gonzalez wrote at another point. I refuse to be indoctrinated by the coloreds. He told the group he used the term colored because, quote, I was told we can't say black anymore. A couple of days later, he added, avoid the coloreds like the plague. The group chat members, which included some women apparently, also frequently discussed sex, sometimes describing women as whores, and at one point using the K word, the slur for Jewish people, to describe women they avoid. Gonzalez, this again is another quote of what he put. You can fuck all the K words you want, just don't marry them and procreate. Ian Valdez, the Turning Point USA chapter president, responded, again, I'm quoting here, I would definitely not marry a Jew. I'm not going to keep reading this because there's no point. They are vile. And this is the Republican Party. This is a campus group. It's college students. This is the kind of thing that you don't reform. You abolish. You dismantle. You pull it out by the roots and you salt the ground it grew in. Because this is straight up Nazi shit. Anyway, moving on. I thought I'd talk about some different news. This is from pbs.org. Instead of talking about politics, I thought I would discuss the climate. Study finds that sea levels are higher than we thought, placing millions more at risk than expected. Researchers studied hundreds of scientific studies and hazard assessments, calculating that about 90% of them, oh my God, 90% of them underestimated the baseline coastal water heights by an average of a foot, 30 centimeters. It's a far more frequent problem in the global south, the Pacific and Southeast Asia, and less so in Europe and along the Atlantic coasts. Unless you live in Miami, which is flooding on the regular now, and will probably be completely underwater in the next 20 or so years. So, you know, have fun, all you billionaires buying up all that beachfront property. The cause is a mismatch between the way sea and land altitudes are measured. According to the study co-author Philip Minderhood, a hydrogeology professor at Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands. He attributed that to a methodological blind spot between the differences between the way that they're measured. Each way measures their own areas properly, but where sea meets land, there's a lot of factors that don't get accounted for when satellites and land-based models are used. Studies that calculate sea level rise impact usually do not look at the actual measured sea level, so they used this 0 meter figure as a starting point. They don't look at the actual measured sea level. What the fuck? Am I smarter than scientists? Like, I kind of assumed that, like, you start with, you measure the fucking ocean level, and then the land. Jesus. Anyway, studies that calculate sea level rise impact usually don't look at the right measured amount, said lead author Catherine Seeger of the University of Padua in Italy. In some places in the Indo-Pacific, it's close to 3 feet or a meter higher. So adjusting to a more accurate coastal height baseline means that if seas rise by a little more than 3 feet, 1 meter, as some studies suggest will happen by the end of the century, waters could inundate up to 37% more land and threaten 77 million to 132 million more people. It's worth pointing out that most of human civilization is like on the coasts, around bodies of water. Most people live near the fucking water. But you know, we need that AI. I need to be able to generate a cool ass video of, I don't know, a cat setting off fireworks and judo chopping Keanu Reeves into an airplane that then crashes into the sea. I don't fucking know. God damn, I only skimmed this article, by the way. This is on me. This is totally on me. I only skimmed the article. I didn't know they'd fucked up that hard. I'm actually, a little depressed now, so I'm gonna move on. Oh, good. Another headline to help with my depression. This is from 404 Media. Proton Mail, you know, the email service that's like, we'll keep you secure. Ain't nobody getting in there. You're totally cool and safe with us. Yeah, apparently they helped the FBI unmask an anonymous Stop Cop City protester. So, Proton Mail provided Swiss authorities with payment data that the FBI got from Swiss authorities and then used to determine who was allegedly behind an anonymous account affiliated with the Stop Cop City movement in Atlanta. The records provide insight into the sort of data that Proton Mail, which brags endlessly about their end-to-end encryption. And they talk about how it's only governed by Swiss privacy law. But it still provides it to third parties. In this case, the Proton Mail account was affiliated with the Defend the Atlanta Forest group and Stop Cop City movement in Atlanta, which authorities were investigating for their connection to arson, vandalism, doxing. Oh no. Gosh. How dare they do these awful things when trying to prevent a facility from being built where the police will be trained more in military tactics, usually by ex-IDF soldiers. But you know, the doxing. The information the FBI received showed a specific person as the payment source for a particular Proton Mail account. On January 25th, 2024, subscriber information received from the Swiss Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty Unit revealed the full name of the person as the payment source for the Proton email address. 404 Media isn't publishing the person's name because they don't appear to have been charged with a crime, according to searches of court databases. But, you know, that hardly means anything when law enforcement decides to target you. Moving on from that, in Kansas, we'd mentioned before in the main podcast, Gender Swap, about how actually no, I think it was, we mentioned it in a bonus episode, not a free episode. Okay, my bad. I'll try to explain from scratch. The state of Kansas made it where trans people's IDs and licenses are kaput, don't work. You have to get a new one if you change your gender marker. Except, apparently, the Kansas DMV has flagged people who didn't change the marker. A trans Kansas resident recently changed her name, but not her gender marker on a license, because she was afraid of what Kansas might do if she did. I totally get that. Girl, I'm with you on that one. And the Kansas DMV still flagged her, still had her come in, and yeah. She was confused about the letter she got, felt like she had no choice but to comply. So she went to the closest DMV, which is apparently about an hour and a half away. And when she left her house, because there was no warning, she got the letter saying, by the way, tomorrow your license no longer fucking works. So she had to get there and hope she didn't get pulled over. She got to the DMV, presented the letter, and the employee was confused because apparently none of the other DMV staff had been told what was going on. So she was forced to surrender her license that she had just been issued 2 months ago after the name change. And the employee chopped it up, cut it up. Then Her altered license was returned to her alongside a new temporary paper license, designating her sex as male. Paper license in hand, she got in her car and drove northeast to El Dorado, a town roughly 40 minutes away. That morning, Equality El Dorado was trying to help trans people get to the DMV. It was looking for volunteers, and she wanted to help do that. She was ready to pitch in. But when she got there, she found out the DMV had called her, left a message asking that she comes back. So she drove back, because apparently there's a problem with the license they just gave her. And she had to cancel a doctor's appointment that she set up for that afternoon. The DMV had to call a manager over for assistance while Ellis waited, and they tried to solve the issue. They didn't tell her what the problem was, but she overheard them saying that there was a flag tied to her ID in their system that they had to remove. Eventually, she was given another temporary paper license. Just like the license that had been cut up that morning, and just like the first temporary license, it had her sex marker identified as male. By the time Ellis finished up and met up with the reporter who wrote this in Wichita, she'd driven a total of 131 miles and spent 3 hours on the road. To fix a problem with the sex marker she never changed. Shouldn't have been an issue, and yet was. Which kind of hints that state governments like Kansas are tracking and flagging us other ways. Moving on to our final headline. I thought I'd pick out something a little more uplifting. This is from AaronInTheMorning.com. Trans Girl Scouts sell 330,000 boxes of cookies in a public outpouring of support. The total boxes sold is the highest in the history of the Trans Girl Scout cookie list, done by Aaron in the Morning. It's nice to know that as loud as a lot of people can be about trans people, as loud as the transphobia can be, there's still a lot of people out there that do support us, that do care about us. And I hope when push comes to shove, will help fight for us. This has been this week's episode of Here Comes the News. Once again, I'm your host, Mika. All the information I talked about today is available online. You can go and verify it yourself. But as always, with any information I bring, do with that information what you will. Bye.